What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV. Welcome back to another Tottenham update for you guys. A few snippets to get through. No transfer news today, but we got a few talking points. And the first one we're going to talk about is Can't Smile Without You. Obviously, the Barry Manilow song that's revealed itself to the Tottenham fan base for a number of years now. They've recently started to play it just before kickoff at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and there's been fans on social media kind of talking it down, saying that we shouldn't be using Can't Smile Without You. It's not motivating enough, and some even saying it's not even a Spurs song, which I completely disagree with, because since I've been supporting Spurs ever since a young age, I remember it being very sung at more or less every away game in the pubs and stuff like that. It is definitely a song that's connected to the Spurs fan base, that's for sure. But what's your opinions on it?
Yeah, maybe it's the younger generation thinking, like, saying it's not a Tottenham song. Maybe they don't really know the history of it. But I always thought it would be a really nice thing to do before kickoff, like how Liverpool have You Never Walk Alone. Tottenham can have their own kind of anthem to get. But the thing is, we definitely need everyone singing it, like the whole crowd, to have the same effect. And at the moment, the way it's going before games is being played, and I'm like personally enjoying it, but and I'm like, you know, it gets me geared up. But first of all, I feel like it goes on for a bit too long. They like play like the whole song. There, you probably just need one verse like of it, like to kind of get that feel. And also, everyone, like, at the moment, it's kind of just patches of people singing it, and then everyone shouts Tottenham and stuff, which is cool. But maybe it's a case of the more it gets played, everyone's going to get used to it. And maybe because it's new, like, people still aren't quite used to it being sung before the game. But I think it's a good idea. I like it more than I didn't like when Glory before the game didn't quite hit the right note for me. And people say it's not energetic enough or something, it doesn't get you pumped. But, you know, You'll Never Walk Alone's not the most fast-paced song either. So why can't this be our version of that? I'm a fan of it. I understand why people maybe are against it and thinking it's not right, or, you know, it's because you do need the whole crowd singing. It needs to be like a cauldron of noise of everyone singing it together, and then I think it'll have a really good effect. At the moment, maybe it's because it's just played a few times, it kind of hasn't hit yet. But I think we should persist with it. The only problem is now is you got people like so against it, and it's shit, it's rubbish. And then when you have that negative energy, obviously if they don't like it, they're not gonna sing it, and then that feeds into other people just like being against it. And then if it's getting to that stage, then it's probably worth binning it off before the game. But I think, like, imagine that before like a massive Champions League game, everyone's singing that before a game. I think it could have a big effect.
I'm a bit split on it, to be honest, because I'm a massive fan of Can't Smile Without You, and I love singing it in the stands. I love hearing it at away games and stuff like that, and in the pubs. I'm a massive fan of it, but before the game, I'm not sure if it's the right moment to play it. I kind of feel like a good moment to play it might be at the end of games. I feel like it's a nice closing song, and it's a nice thing to do at the end of games. I mean, I get what you're saying, comparing it to You'll Never Walk Alone and stuff like that, but I don't really think it's a comparison, because You'll Never Walk Alone with the Liverpool fans have been ingrained in that fan base for a very long time. And yes, Can't Smile Without You has been ingrained in the Spurs fan base as well for a fairly long time. But the way that Liverpool use it is that each and every single Liverpool fan knows You'll Never Walk Alone. Each and every fan of every other club knows You'll Never Walk Alone is attached to that football club. It's not really the same with Can't Smile Without You and Tottenham Hotspur. And I got a feeling that maybe at the end of the game is a bit more suiting the song than maybe towards before the game. And I felt like before the game, the Duel of Fates and that Star Wars music was the music to get us all pumped up. And I think it did get us pumped up with that kind of montage on the screen and stuff like that. So I got a feeling maybe go back to Duel of Fates and then maybe use Can't Smile Without You post game or something like that, but then you take away from Glory Tottenham Hotspur post game, which also works really well. So I'm not really sure what the right answer is on that one.
I just think maybe if they play like Duel of Fates is usually something they play before the teams come out. Can't Smile Without was like while the team's on the pitch kind of thing, which I kind of like. And I think with time people will start getting, maybe it's just a time thing. If they keep playing it, it will have the desired effect that we want. I just feel like like in a massive game, if that song's if everyone's belting that song out before the game, I think that could be a really magical moment. It's just at the moment, it's a bit. Some people are singing it, some people aren't. People are mumbling along like. And I think one thing for sure is they play the whole song and it goes on for a bit too long, and then from that point of view it's like, okay, don't need to play it for too long. But if they just play a verse just for the kick, for example, like Wolves, right? When you go to Wolves, they play, I can't remember what song it is, they just play a quick verse of it just for get all the crowd pumped up, and they just cut it just before kickoff. And there's quite a good atmosphere there. Maybe we could do something similar like that. Just play one verse of Can't Smile Without You, get everyone pumped, and then kick off.
Yeah,
that's what I would do.
Yeah, but then you got the whole of the new younger generation as well, and at Wolves and at Liverpool, it's a bit of a smaller stadium, and you don't have as many kind of people just coming for the one-off games and stuff. Maybe at Liverpool you do, but definitely probably not at Wolves. So everyone's kind of all together in it. We're at Spurs, because we've got such a big stadium now, we're not selling out every week and stuff like that. You've got a lot of people coming that don't usually come. So maybe there's a case of that, saying we're not all on the same page at Spurs at the moment before kickoff and stuff like that.
But again, it's only been played a couple of times, so maybe it just needs more. We played more, and then people get on board with it. Potentially, I said,
I'm split both ways. I mean, if we can get it in the stadium before kickoff, like you say, just one verse and the whole stadium singing it. But if we can't, it doesn't really have the desired effect, and it kind of doesn't really hit the note that we want it to hit.
That's the problem. But do we need anything though? Do we have to have like an anthem? I guess I don't know. I'd like to have one.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have one.
Contender for me.
It'd be nice to have one.
Like, what else are you going to play?
Yeah, I don't know.
So, I mean, I think it could be a pretty good song to play before a game. I enjoy it.
I enjoy it as well. But we're kind of fans who've been going home and away for a while now. We've kind of like ingrained ourselves in that song. But there are fans who don't go home and away, and the guys that don't go away, especially, won't know that it's kind of connected to Spurs.
Yeah, but Liverpool didn't. It wasn't always. There must have been a time before where Liverpool fans weren't always singing. Then it just became part of the course.
It's a different time though. When You Never Walk Alone came in at Liverpool, was a very long time ago. There was no social media. There was no people to kind of bash it online and stuff like that. And when people start bashing stuff online, it kind of seeps through, and especially with the younger generation of fan. So I think it's a bit different now as it was to then.
Yeah, potentially. Decent point. But yeah, I mean, fair enough. We could bin it off, but I think we should try persist it with a bit longer. See if it, like, for example, like before the Arsenal game, maybe like everyone's going to be singing. I don't know.
You'd like to hope so. But I don't know. I just can't see it where people are already like the noise on social media against Can't Smile Without You after that Brighton game was so loud. I felt like there was a lot of fans in that stadium that just didn't know the connection. And hopefully that they can kind of grow to learn the connection, but everyone thinks they're right these days. You know what I mean?
That's
everyone thinks they know the history of everything. And like I saw some quote on social media about Can't Smile Without You saying, "I've been to over 1,000 Spurs games and I've never heard this song once." And all this
what games you been going to?
Like, what are you on about? Like, seriously. And it's these kind of people that are going to influence others.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, you're probably right.
So that's that with Can't Smile Without You. I mean, me personally, I think that if we can get it to a stage where the whole stadium is singing it, then I'm all for it. But if not, it just comes across as a bit half-assed.
Well, let us know people's opinions, whether they're a fan of it, whether they think it should just be binned off, whether they think it's rubbish, or is it our version?
It's definitely not rubbish. It's definitely not rubbish. That's the facts of the matter. It's definitely not rubbish. It's a song that has been had connections with the Spurs fan base for a while now, and I think if we can make the most use out of it, the better. But if people aren't going to get on board with it, then there's probably no point having it. That's the facts of the matter. But anyway, let's move on and let's talk about Emma Raducanu now. She's been playing in a tennis tournament this week wearing a Spurs shirt. Unbelievable. Never knew she was a Spurs fan. But yeah, good stuff there. You see her there in a Spurs shirt.
More trophies than Spurs recently.
Yeah, that's definitely for sure. The US Open a couple of years back.
Maybe hopefully the Spursiness doesn't seep through into a...
Yeah, let's hope not. Let's hope
that
not.
follows on from what's his name, also wore a Spurs shirt.
Yeah, Nick Kyrgios. Yeah.
Coming a bit of a theme for these tennis players. But yeah, look, great stuff. Emma Raducanu coming out as a Spurs fan. Lovely stuff.
Big up Raducanu. And we're all Raducanu fans for Wimbledon.
Definitely,
this year,
massive Raducanu fan now.
That's for sure. But yeah, big up Raducanu wearing that Spurs shirt. Let's move on and let's talk about these Gabby Agbonglahor comments on Harry Kane. I'm guessing they're on TalkSport. What's been said there?
So speaking on Harry Kane and his decision to go to the Masters after beating Villa, and obviously people have been latching onto that as a case of why he was looking sluggish. Agbonglahor said, I think little things make a difference. If you're Harry Kane, for instance, I'm his biggest fan, but if you're flying after the Villa game to the Masters, doing that travel and coming back and then putting in that performance, questions have to be asked. Was that the right thing for him to go and do? Because they were toothless going forward against Brighton. No shots on target. Every time they seem to be a little bit of edge against Arsenal, Man United, they throw it away. 100% he would have had approval to go, but the way he played, it seemed like he was jet lagged. It wasn't the Harry Kane we're used to seeing. And every time they seem to get a lead in the race for top four, they keep letting Man United back into it, especially Arsenal as well. So as much as we keep looking at fixtures and what results are going to be, these teams are looking like they could lose any game any week. Well, this is the first time we've had an advantage, so it's a bit weird to say that.
Yeah, but I get what he's saying a little bit.
But in terms of on Harry Kane, obviously when he looks as bad as he did, people are going to say, oh, he shouldn't have gone to America, this and that. But he was back in training on Tuesday. You know what I mean? He had Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, all in training. So is it really going to make a difference with him going to the Masters?
I don't know, to be honest. Probably not, seeing as none of the other players trained at that time as well. But if we had a big, let's say a big cup final that weekend, Champions League final, FA Cup final, the last game of the Premier League to kind of seal that top four fate or that, would he still be going?
Big question.
I don't think he would be. So if you're talking the noise coming out from Tottenham, saying from Antonio Conte saying we've got 6 cup finals left, 7 cup finals left and stuff like that, I think you've got to be treating them as cup finals. And if you're going out to the Masters, I don't think in a situation it's actually a bad thing. It's not the worst thing in the world for him to go over to the Masters. Obviously, he's a massive golfing fan. But at this stage of the season, I think that his focus shouldn't be on going to see golf and going to the Masters, going over to America. His focus should be 100% on Tottenham and getting this top 4 spot. I don't think his decision to go to the Masters kind of affected our performance on the weekend. I think it was just a bad display and Brighton did a number on us. But on the flip side of that, I do think that his sole focus at this stage of the season should be on Tottenham Hotspur.
Right, but if it didn't affect our performance, then what's the difference?
Well, it's the same thing. Like, let's say, like I said, if you've got a massively pivotal game, an FA Cup final, a Champions League final, one of these big games, people would have problems with him going then. So why don't they have problems with him going now?
People do have problems.
I'm just saying people that don't have the problems.
I wouldn't. If it was sanctioned from the club, I don't think it would be sanctioned from the club if they had a cup final potentially. But
so
if
why is it sanctioned then now? Then
because they've given him 2 days off and they allowed him to go. Conte said before he said that before the Villa game, they used it as an incentive for the players that if we win this game, I'm going to give you 2 days
maybe
off.
That was wrong then.
Maybe, but that was how we won the game against Villa. Clearly got the right motivation there, but against Brighton, obviously we were awful. But I think it's just a convenient kind of, I don't know, like scapegoat excuse to say, oh, he shouldn't have gone to the Masters. Like he was back in training on Tuesday. I don't think you're jet lagged like for 2 days. I honestly don't believe that. And he had 4 days in training. So the fact that we didn't have a good performance result, obviously you're going to people will point the finger, but for me, like he had 4 days in training. I don't think him being in the Masters would have affected his performance. Like if he came back on Thursday or something, I would say yeah. But he was back in training on Tuesday. Like come on, he was there in training for 4 days before the game. Like how much more do you want him for a 5th day in training? What do you want?
Well, maybe it's not Harry Kane that we should be looking at, and it's probably Antonio Conte for giving the players 2 days off after the Villa game, and maybe from now until the end of the season, these players need to have a tight leash and whip on them from now to the end of the season, and we shouldn't be allowing our players to go halfway across the road in the middle of a very busy stage of the season.
That's a different question. Yeah.
But that's my opinion. I mean, I'm not going to blame Harry Kane. He got the allowance to go and he went. You got to blame people that are giving him the allowance.
Apparently Conte, because we now have one game a week as opposed to before, he's been using the using that time to use more incentives for the squad to up their performance levels, and he used that as an incentive for the Villa game, saying, "Look, if you get over the line, if you put in my performance for me in this game, I'm going to use an incentive of 2 days off for you to up your performance." And he did get the performance he wanted, and just because we didn't get the one after doesn't mean that was the wrong thing to do, because it worked then, but just because we lost doesn't mean it had that had an effect.
I agree with you, but you can't rule it out.
What basis can you say it did have an effect?
Well, you can't say either way. You don't know what goes on behind closed doors. You don't know if Harry Kane was tired or not. We don't know anything.
Tired from Tuesday up until
we don't know. We don't know. We don't know the facts of the matter. The fact of the matter is the players got 2 days off. Harry Kane went to America, and we had a disaster class against Brighton. That's the only things we know.
5 days late, 4 days.
That's the only things we know.
Yeah, I know, but but logic states that our 4 days in training should be enough. Like, you're not going to be tired for 4 days straight because you went 2 days to America.
What I'm saying is the players do what they're allowed to do, right? Harry Kane was allowed to go to America on the instruction of Antonio Conte. I'm not saying Harry Kane did anything wrong here. I'm saying that, and maybe Antonio should have not given them a couple of days off and should have kept that tight leash on them. We know what happens with these players if you don't put a tight leash on them. Look what happened under Jose Mourinho. He didn't expect them to do any fitness work, and they didn't. I mean, he wanted them to do it on their own, and he didn't. So maybe these players, they need a bit more of a tight leash on them and not give them the 2 days off after a couple of good displays.
But you're saying that one, if they say he didn't and they were in the training for an extra day, that would have made all the difference?
I don't know. Could have done. Maybe it wouldn't have done.
So, I don't know. Well, but you're saying maybe it would, maybe it wouldn't. But because of that, we shouldn't.
Yeah.
So,
because of that, we shouldn't. Because why take anything to chance when we know what we're doing is going really well at the moment? For the other games that we had wins, I don't think they got 2 days off. So why not keep to that same formula, the winning formula?
Because he used it as an incentive. So you shouldn't use incentives then. And then
why use incentives for day offs? Incentive to get the top four. Top four should be the incentive.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's what everyone wants.
It is what everyone wants, but we've just had a really bad display against Brighton. So why not just keep that winning formula of what we were doing before that?
Because it won us I wouldn't say it won us the game, but he got the performance he wanted out of it.
Yeah, but we had performances before that didn't have any of these incentives, and we still had good performances. So
all right, but he's a man manager. I'm sure these are tactics he's used in previous jobs that have gotten amazing results.
Yeah,
so I'm not going to criticise him.
He's used it with other clubs that have had more ready-made squads. We're talking about a squad here where Jose Mourinho expected them to do fitness work behind the scenes outside of training, which they never did. Mm-hmm. So maybe we shouldn't be giving these players as much freedom as we are.
I don't think they had 4 days training after.
Yeah, and in the prior games, in the other games, Antonio Conte talks about how important it is to have a whole week on the training ground prior to a game.
That's because usually you have 1 day when you have a midweek. You have 1 day fitness, 1 day training. When it's 4 days, there's no excuse. You can't say, "Oh, we had a day off, so that's why we had a poor performance." They had 4 days of training before the game. There's no other excuse other than themselves.
Well, we don't know. We don't know, though, because we're not on the training ground. And I'm just saying that keeping to a winning formula is probably the best way to go at this stage of the season.
Oh.
That's all I'm saying. Anyway, let's move on and let's talk about these Lloris quotes. He's been talking about the top four. What has he been saying?
He was obviously talking post the Brighton defeat about that we don't want to throw away all our hard work that we've put in for the last few weeks on this one result. So the quotes are, we don't have a cushion, so we have to go on another run, but we take it game by game, because if we look too far forward, we can slip in other games. What hurts me the most is we have suffered so much, and to arrive in this position, it's not the moment to throw away what we've built in the last few weeks. We've received a lot of kicks during the season, and it's not the time to give a boost to our rivals. We have a week to prepare for the next game, and I hope this defeat will help the team finish stronger. Lloris went on to say, Lloris says winning in West London next week is the only way to respond to defeat. He says, we bounce back by winning. In training, we'll prepare as best we can to give us a chance to win, but it's going to be a tough game, especially at this period of the season when teams like Brighton are already safe and play with freedom and without the pressure of the result. Mentally, we have to increase the level of focus. Sometimes you can have a lack of energy for various reasons, but the focus is so important. Look at how we conceded the goal. It's all about focus and concentration. It is never too late to learn.
Yeah, and those are the kind of words that you want to hear from your captain in the run-in after a bad defeat. And he's absolutely spot on. We need to keep our mentality in check. We need to put this game behind us, brush it off us, and carry on what we were doing before this Brighton game. And completely spot on, to be honest.
Yeah, and I'm glad that, you know, he's saying it's not. This isn't the stage to throw away all the good weeks work, all the weeks of hard work we've done under Conte, and boost our rivals, because we've really turned it around ever since he's come in, and I think there's been clear hard work put on the training pitch, and with how we've patterns of play and everything, like moving the ball fast on the structure, and we were really poor against Brighton, and we don't want to throw away all that hard work we've done. And basically, if we don't get top four from this point, you know, it could all go down the drain if Conte gets cold feet and everything like that. So it's very important we hit back straight away on Saturday. I think it's vital, and it's going to be an even tougher game, in my opinion, against Brighton and Brentford. And we just got to hope that we're on song.
Yeah, we are. We're coming up against one of the form teams in the Premier League this weekend in Brentford. They've got the same amount of points as us in the last 5 games. The only team that have got more points than us and Brentford is Liverpool. So it's going to be a very, very difficult game. We need to have our wits about us. We need to shut down Christian Eriksen, that's for sure. But yeah, I think good words from Hugo Lloris, and let's see if they act upon them this weekend. But let's move on. And the last ones we're talking about is a loan watch. We're going to be talking about Troy Parrott. Another goal on the weekend in a 3-2 defeat to Sheffield Wednesday in a massive game, actually, in League One. But that carries on his great form, scoring 4 goals in his last 5 games for club and country. So now that's 8 goals and 5 assists this year just in League One. So that's brilliant stuff from Troy Parrott. And, you know, at the beginning of the season, a lot of fans were saying, oh, we don't know if Troy Parrott's ever going to make it. We don't know if his head's screwed on right. But it seems as though now something has clicked within Troy Parrott, doesn't it?
Yeah, he seems to be making a difference in every game at the moment. And he even got Player of the Month for only scoring 1 goal in that whole month. So clearly his general play must be very strong. And the goal he scored as well, he seems to be showing a bit of a variety at the moment. He scored a brilliant volley last week. This week, it was more on the counter-attack, bursting into space, beating a player, and then a little dinked finish over the keeper as well, showing a variety of finishes. So he looks like he's going on strength to strength. He's finishing the season very, very strongly, and hopefully he can take that form into next season and maybe at a higher level and see what he can do.
Definitely. So let's hope next season he can get a good championship loan, then maybe come back to Tottenham the year after that and strut his stuff. But last but not least, let's talk about Papa Matar Sarr, who's starting to get starts at Metz again. 2 back-to-back starts from Papa Sarr after being just kind of being used as a bit part player. I mean, he was getting starts a bit earlier on in the season as well, but he grabbed himself an assist this weekend in a 1-1 draw with Clermont, and now that's 27 appearances this year, including sub appearances, with 1 goal, 2 assists, as opposed to last season he had 22 appearances with 3 goals and 0 assists. So he's getting more game time, that's for sure.
Yeah, and you've got to remember he's still very young. He's a teenager still, right? 19 years of age now. So it'll be interesting to see how much we paid for him now. What was it, 12 million or something?
Something like that, yeah.
Be interesting to see what we do with him next season. Whether we say we'll bring him into the first team and have him challenge. I guess we'll bring him back for pre-season, then assess him. I think Conte will.
I think it'll be another loan, to be honest.
Or is it another loan in France or even a Premier League team?
I'd like to see him go to a loan in a team in England.
Yeah. It'll be interesting because he did go to African Cup of Nations, although he didn't play much. He was still there, which is, as a teenager, it's still pretty good going. So I'm still excited by the prospect. He's still very highly thought of. Obviously, maybe considering how we broke into the team last season, you're thinking he should be starting most games this week if he's going to impact the first team. But he is playing for one of the bottom teams in France, isn't he? So, you've also got to remember the players around him aren't the best, and that maybe impacts a young player. So I guess all eyes will be on him in pre-season, see if he develops and if Conte wants him. Because I do think someone of his profile could fit into our team for sure under Conte. We need someone with his energy, so that could be good. But I guess he's still going to be 19, so he's still got a lot of time ahead of him, and I shouldn't expect too much. Even if he is part of the first team, I doubt he's going to be a consistent starter next season.
Yeah, I don't think if he does come back, he'll be a consistent starter. And I think a loan move to a team in maybe the Championship or something like that could do him the world of good. Get to grips with the way of we play football in this country. And also with Antonio Conte, I'm not sure if Conte would give him too much game time, to be honest, because Conte just likes those ready-made players, and I just don't think he's there yet in his development. So I think a loan move would probably be best for him, to be fair.
I guess it just depends how impressive he is in pre-season, once he gets him on the training pitch and stuff. Because he hasn't seen him yet, has he? Yeah. So we'll have to wait and see.
We will. But that is our Tottenham update for today. Let me know in the comment section below if you have any thoughts regarding any of the news stories we brought to you today. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always, come on you Spurs.